You can draw a screen full of dogs in Procreate. I will take you through all the steps. A while back we did the same with lots of cute cats, and since a lot of flow creators enjoyed that video, I thought it would be fun to do the same thing but with dogs. For this project you need a canvas of 2000 by 3000 pixels, but of course you can also go for a different size, different ratio. The process of filling it with lots of dogs will be the same. I've also linked a color palette down in the description. It's totally free, of course. And then if you're ready, let's get started. We'll start by picking a sketching brush. Let's go to the sketching set. And you can use the 6B pencil, for instance, and set your color to black. I have the opacity of the brush set to 100%, the size at 30. And now we are just going to fill our canvas with rounded shapes and just vary them a little bit. Some will be a bit taller, more like a sausage shape. Some will be smaller, perhaps a bit more rounded. Some will be a little bit out of sight. And we are going to create a lot of rows like this. So now behind this one, we have this shape. This one might be a little bit taller again. And these will all be the base shapes of our dogs. So just don't think about how the dogs, what they will look like. Just create these simple shapes, filling your entire canvas. Here we have a rounded one. Here we have one that is a bit taller. And make them overlap. So just only think about filling your screen with these rounded shapes. Until we are all the way at the top. Maybe, well, let's first create one here. Maybe you also have one that is a bit like bended, like this. Use your imagination. Here's one that is a little bit out of sight. Maybe one has a shape like this. And we'll go all the way to the top. There are a few that you can't really see, but you'll see like the sides. One over here. And here you'll just see the sides. So now we just have a screen full of blobs. So once you have this, you can start turning them into dogs. First, we'll lower the opacity of this sketch layer. We'll tab the N here and then slide to like 30% and then tap the plus for a new layer on top. And now we are going to add a lot of features to these dogs. So let's start with this one. And you can start by adding like a snout. You can use a semicircle with a nose here and a little mouth. And along the way, you'll see multiple ways of creating snouts, creating a mouth for your dog. And for the eyes, you could go for simple dots. And then for the ears, I'll just make these rounded shapes. And at the top, you can create some hair like this. And also on the side. And maybe it has some like woolly fur almost. And these are things that you can mix and match. Here for another one, let's first make a snout. This one is a slightly different shape. Nose over here. And maybe it has a mouth like this. Maybe he's a little bit confused and has eyes like this. And for the ears, These are going up like this. And then some fur at the top. And maybe the rest is more smooth. And if you follow the link in the description, you'll also find my completed illustration. So you can use my dogs as an inspiration. Here we'll make a bit like a butt cheek face. So a shape like this, and then a nose. So this is a different variety than these dots for the whiskers. Simple eyes. And maybe this one has these pointy ears. With a little shape in there. It has a short fur, so I'll just make a line like this, and maybe you can see his paws. Very simple and stylized. And maybe a little bit of fur like this. Then on to the next one. Another way to create a mouth is by making a shape like this. Big nose on top. And you can add a little tongue. And for the eyes, instead of little dots, you can also make bigger circles. And then put a pupil in. And for the ears, make a shape like this. And then go down like this. So it has these like upstanding ears. And then down to attach it to the head. And maybe it has hair at the top like this. Like I said, you can mix and match these features. Over here, we'll just see a dog from the side. Maybe it has a fur like this. Maybe we can see an ear. It's like a woolly dog. Then onto this one. You can also go for just a nose like this, a big nose. And a mouth, and simple eyes on top, and maybe these eyebrows, and then I'll go for simple hanging ears, and on this side as well. And then let's move to this one. I'd like to show you another way to draw a face. First, go for the nose. And this one, I'd like him to be maybe a little bit evil. Make a mouth like this. And then for the eyes, we'll make 2 diagonal lines like this. And then a shape underneath like this. With the pupils inside and little eyebrows, so it looks a little bit more evil. Maybe it has pointy ears, fur at the top, and then maybe bigger shapes like this. Maybe it's like a wolf-like dog, or maybe it is a wolf between our dogs. And then let's make a more derpy one right next to it. Again, I'll start with the nose. And then for the mouth, I'll make a shape like this. First a W shape, and then a shape like this underneath. So it has an open mouth. And then for the eyes, I'll go for these bigger circles with a little pupil. And I'll go for the ears. And it has lots of fur. Another ear over here. And all that fur. Also here. I like him. And another one over here. Starting with the nose again. Then big eyes here. And maybe this one has long ears. Almost like a bunny. And just a mouth like this. Maybe this one, he's not sure what he's doing here. So now you can simply vary all these features and also check my final illustration to get some inspiration, and then sketch out all these dogs like this. So let's lower the opacity of this layer as well. We'll tap the N, slide to 30%, and then tap the plus for a new layer. We'll stick with the color black. You can double tap here to make sure that it's black. And then for our brush, we'll go to the inking brushes and use the studio pen. And then the opacity should be at 100%, and we'll set the size to 10%. But of course, if you want thinner lines or thicker lines, you can always play around with the size. And I will just go over our dogs. We'll zoom in and we'll add the lines. And with this brush, the less pressure you use, the thinner the lines will become. So you can play around with the line thickness. Adding some interesting effects. And of course you don't have to follow your sketch exactly. You can still play around. Do whatever you like. Just follow those lines, and this way we are going to go along all of the dogs. So add in the noses, less pressure for the snout. Adding that hair effect. And sometimes you can rotate your canvas to make it easier to make certain smooth lines. And like I said, remember to play around with the thickness of your lines. For instance, for little fur details like here, you can use less pressure, making those lines more thin. And that will give a nice variety to your line art. So just continue following your sketch until your line art looks like this. And now we can turn off our sketch layers, and then it's time to start coloring our dogs. And let's put those colors on separate layers for all of the dogs. So first let's make a layer underneath our line art. Let's tap the plus. And then for our color, let's start with brown. And then for instance, let's make this dog brown. And we'll just follow the line art. So we can make a closed shape. Follow the edges. And it's a bit of work, but it's also kind of relaxing. You don't have to think about anything. Just take your time to color all of these dogs. So once you have a closed shape, you can drag in the color and move on to your next. And for the eyes and mouths, I won't color those. So go around those areas. And then again, just follow the edges to create a closed shape. And then when it's closed, you can drag in the color. And then just spread your brown dogs across your composition until you have something like this. I hope you are having fun drawing all of these cute dogs so far. I just want to let you know that right now at Patreon, we're working on a really nice project. It's this lovely seaside shop. And at Patreon, you won't just find this tutorial, but over 200 more. And the difficulty levels range from beginner to more advanced. So don't worry if the seaside shop looks too daunting right now. And of course, I'll always take you through all the steps and you'll get brushes, colors, and you'll be part of a wonderful group of flow creators. So it will be great to see you there. I will just leave a link down in the description for you. But now let's continue. Then let's make another layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus and then move on to this color, that very light brown. And then again, just pick a couple of dogs that you want to give this color to. And then it should look something like this. All right, let's move on. Let's make another layer on top. Let's tap the plus and now move on to this color, third color. And we can give that color to this guy over here, our wolf-like dog. And like I mentioned earlier, keep the eyes white, keep that empty. And just follow the edges. All the way until you have that closed shape. Drag in the color. We also need to color this. And then we'll just color a bunch of other dogs as well, so it'll look like this. Then for another layer, let's tap the plus and now move on to this light gray color, which is also a little bit bluish actually. And I'll use this color on these dogs. Now that we have flat colors for our dogs, I'd like to add some patterns. First for our white dogs, let's make a layer at the bottom. Let's tap the plus here. And then for the color, let's start with this one, first color in the second row. And let's pick some dogs. Like this one, we can give it brown ears. We're going to add some interest to the white dogs. Maybe this one has these like blobs, patches of color. Like a cow almost. And maybe this one has brown ears. Maybe this one has just one brown ear and some nice spots. You can really do your thing. Add some wild patterns. And then maybe this one. Maybe it has like a brown belly. And then let's also pick this color. That's a very light color. We can use that for some more patterns, but ones that are less visible, less prominent. but they'll add an extra touch to these dogs. Maybe this one has like a light colored belly here. And for this one, I'd like to color his fluffy ears. And maybe for this one, his snout. Just continue doing this until you have a nice balance, there's some nice interest added to these white dogs. And maybe this one has these spots and colored ears. I think this looks nice. Now let's also add something extra to our brown dogs. Let's tap the plus for a new layer on top of that, and then let's set the new layer to clipping mask so that whatever we draw here, it'll only show up on our brown dogs. And let's grab this color. It's slightly different from the base brown, but we can use it to add some patches, some patterns to the brown dogs. Maybe this one has slightly different colored ears. Maybe this one too. It just adds some variety. And for this one, maybe the muzzle. Yeah, I think this is nice. And now we can actually pinch these two layers together. So all the browns are on one layer. Now let's go to the top. Let's tap the plus. And now let's color the tongues. Let's grab this color, the third color in the second row. And let's just go in and color them. Now for these, I'd like to use two colors. So first I'll color this, and then later we'll use the other red for the tongue. Here, make sure to not color the teeth. Make sure you don't skip any. And then grab that other red, the more saturated red, fourth color, and use that for these. And I see I missed this one. Let's just use this color. And finally this one. Now the only thing left that our dogs need is some shading. Let's go to our brown layer first. Let's go there, let's tap the plus and set the new layer to clipping mask. And I will tap the N and scroll up to multiply so we can add some shadow. And for our brush, we'll go to the painting brushes. Where are they? Over here, and we'll use the round brush. And then for the color, we'll use this one, a second color in the first row. And the opacity of the brush is, well, let's set that to 82%, and let's set the size to 15. And then we'll go along the undersides of our dogs and just add a slight little shadow. You can make multiple strokes. You can also go along the side a little bit where the other dog is casting a shadow. And it's a little bit blotchy, a little bit irregular. That adds to the character. Over here. And it adds some depth to the illustration. And over here. Now for this one. We are going to do this for all of our dogs. So we'll also go to the next layer to this one and then add a new layer on top. Set that layer to clipping mask as well. Then tab the N and scroll up to multiply. And the reason I'm clipping these layers to each individual color is so that it's easier to not go over other areas. Right now, I can only go over this light colored dog, and I won't be going over the head of the brown dog. So it just gives you more control. So again, just go over the sides and the undersides. You don't have to be super tidy about this. Add some playfulness, some messiness. Gently build that up. You have this one. Now this one in the corner. Then for the dark dogs, let's tap the plus, set that layer to clipping mask, tap the N, scroll up to multiply, and now let's grab this blue, bluish gray, fourth color. Otherwise, the shadows on these dogs would look too warm if we would use that creamy color. So again, just along the undersides, add some shadow. And also a bit here. Then on to the next one. This layer, let's tap the plus, set it to clipping mask, tap the N, and scroll up to multiply. And then let's add some shadow on these. You need to be a bit careful because it's close to the other gray dog. So just the undersides. Slight little shadow. And then for the white dogs, let's go all the way to the bottom over here. We're actually here on top of the patterns that we have created. Then tap the plus and then tap the N and set the layer to multiply. Don't set this to clipping mask, otherwise the shadow would only end up on the patterns. Then grab, well, maybe this color, second color in the second row. Let's see. Yeah, that's shadow enough. And in this case, be careful to not go over the tops of dogs that are close by. Then this one, just slight shadows. And this one. And then for a final touch, I'd like to make a layer on top of all the others, but underneath our line art. So over here, let's tap the plus and let's set this layer to screen. So tap the end, scroll down to screen, and let's grab this color, second color in the first row. And I'd like to use this to lighten up some areas like these snouts, adding some variety in these faces. So just circular motions. Let's actually go underneath the mouth layers. Let's go here and then make sure that this is not clipped. So we just have the tongues on top of the screen layer. Just going over these noses. I think that adds a nice extra touch. So just a little rounded motion. And maybe here we can lighten up the eyes a little bit. I think that's cute. And then finally this one. And then we can call our dogs done. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share your result, and I will see you next time for the next video.